Welcome back, and we got a little bit more to talk about with Justin. We had a couple other questions we wanted to ask. When you get a good guest on like this, you can't not ask as many questions as you want. So, like I said, first off, we talked about it in the last part, about growing up in Irmo, growing up in the area. Talk a little bit about the importance of playing in the state in high school, and then trying to play and kind of bring South Carolina on the map. With the Final Four, just in putting out for your hometown or your home state.
Growing up in Irmo, Dad played here, obviously. I was always a Gamecock fan. I was a huge Gamecock fan, going to basketball and football events, and I was always like, I want to experience this. I want to play in front of this. So for me, when Coach Martin came here and gave me the scholarship offer, I knew hands down I was coming.
There was no question about it.
No question. I knew I was coming. And it felt good. It feels good representing your home state. It feels good having people that watched you grow up, sitting in the stands, watching you play, being proud of you, telling you how proud they are. So it's just an amazing feeling that, going to another school and doing good things would still felt good. It would still made family members proud, the community proud, but it's just something about doing it where you grew up.
And doing it at the flagship university, what better place to do it? Kind of staying on that same narrative, growing up in Irmo, what were some of the things that you think led you most towards athletics, specifically basketball, but more so athletics? What would you say?
Well, my granddad was a all-state football player and All-American in high school. My dad was a all McDonald's.
Right. Well, yeah, obviously your father was.
Stuff.
Right.
So. I always grew up hearing stories about both of them because I was with my granddad a lot because my dad was playing ball overseas. So I would hear stories and stories about him. I would hear stories and stories about my dad. And I just wanted something similar to that. Coach Whipple was still at Irmo as I was growing up, going to Irmo basketball camp and stuff like that. And he was still there when I ended up being able to go to high school. So I went there, played for him, was able to win 2 state championships alongside guys like Jordan Roper that played at Clemson, Dietrich Browning, that's the all-time leading scorer at Francis Marion. Just that growing up in the environment I grew up around with my dad and my granddad just led me to it and wanting to play for Coach Whipple, who's still at Irmo.
Shout out Coach Whipple.
Just those
wherever
things.
he is.
Obviously, and you talked about it with your dad and your granddad having the success that they had. Obviously, in the back of your mind, for at least a little bit, there's always going to be that trying to not necessarily live up to expectations, but making sure that you kind of trying to get that same success. How did you put that away? How did you make it so that you were playing for yourself, not to exceed anyone's expectations or try to fill anybody's shoes, but just to have your own career and to be your own player?
Well, for me, growing up, my granddad and my dad always told me, be Justin. Don't be Bernard, don't be BJ, be Justin. Just be the best Justin you can be. And I always did that. My freshman and my sophomore year of college, I kind of got wrapped up in all the talk of can he be BJ, he's not being BJ. And finally, once I let that go, that's kind of when I started having my own success. Just getting away from all the outside talk and focusing in on what I needed to do for myself and just being myself. That's when I really started to blossom and have good games and really start helping the team out.
And I understand you're getting into acting now as we fast forward into the more modern and present time. You want to talk about that a little bit and what that's been doing for you?
Acting was something I wanted to do my whole life. I fell in love with acting. I was about 10 years old, watching $1 Million Baby in the basement with my granddad, and I just loved it. And growing up, didn't get to do it as much as I would have liked because of basketball, obviously, but it was always something I knew I wanted to do. I graduated, had a couple offers to go play ball overseas, didn't really want to do it, so I'm kind of like, what do I want to do? I go to grad school, I'm like, this ain't it.
Right.
So then my girlfriend at the time, she was like, she was like, you keep saying you want to model, you want to act, you should get into it. So I did. And I went to an open casting at this agency called Evolution. I auditioned on a Saturday at around like 12 o'clock, something like that. And they were like, all right, we'll give you a call back on Sunday or Monday. and they weren't really enthusiastic about it. So I was kind of like, man, maybe this ain't for me. Lo and behold, around 4:30 that same Saturday, they ended up calling me back and saying, look, we want you, but you don't have quite enough experience, so we're going to send you to an academy. They ended up sending me to this academy called Talent Inc., getting some training, and then I ended up signing in January, and then next week I'll actually be in Orlando from Wednesday to Sunday, doing some auditioning in front of, for modeling and acting in front of some LA and New York agencies. So praying for the best and working hard and hoping it goes well.
It's a bit of a sidestep from basketball, but you're still putting the same effort in that you always did whenever you kind of tackled something.
Yeah, and that's something that I love about playing for Coach Martin. He doesn't try to just help you off on the court. He tries to help you and mold you to become who you need to be off the court, and you know, this is something that's going to challenge me. It's something that I know isn't going to come easy, but neither was playing for Coach. You know, it wasn't easy playing for him. It's not, but because you love it and because he pushes you and it pushes you, it makes you love it even more. It makes you want to go harder and work harder. And I know that my lesson that I learned from him with that, I'll take into this next chapter of my life.
And you talk about it, and I can imagine you're always in constant contact with Martin, and always giving advice, or always, you know, asking for things. And I know we talked a lot about it in the last segment about that Final Four team with everything that y'all have been doing. You know, PJ and Sindarius in the NBA. You have Dwayne, you know, in the G League team for the Raptors, and you have Ross still trying to, you know, get pushed into it. Do y'all find the time? Because obviously on Saturday against A&M, it was awesome. The fans loved seeing you and Sindarius and PJ all there, all, you know, coming back. Do you find the time to try to still meet up, still, you know, reunite once in a while?
It's hard. It's hard. Obviously, we're all trying to do different things now. PJ's on a two-way deal. Sin plays for the Clippers. Dwayne plays for the Raptors G League. Raj trying to get himself back into the fold of college basketball. But we still have our Final Four group message on Snapchat. We talk in there a lot. We send old videos to laugh about and stuff like that. So we try and stay in touch. We try and maintain and stay in each other's lives because we did some things together, not just the Final Four, some things off the court, some things, other things on the court that group of guys will only be able to say we did together. So we try and stay in each other's lives. As far as Coach, I don't know how much he talks to those other guys, but knowing him and knowing them, I'm sure they talk a lot. I try and talk to him at least 3 or 4 times a month, whether it's coming to practice, whether it's just calling him, whether it's going to his office, because, you know, he ultimately helped me get to where I'm at now. You know, he was one of the first people I talked to about acting stuff, and, you know, because I was kind of on the fence about it. And he said, "What are you on the fence for? Is that what you want to do?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, go do it." So
in true Frank Martin fashion.
Yeah. So I try and stay in touch with him and all those guys as much as I can.
Right. And kind of speaking on, I heard you say that you come to practices and still visit and talk and stay in contact with Frank Martin. What would you consider is probably the best thing that you would feel, as far as camaraderie is concerned, with the guys that are in there now? Any mentorship, any words of wisdom that you've been giving them? Just staying in contact, you know?
I love it, man. I love it because Coach has built. When Coach Martin first got here, I know you guys were young, so y'all probably don't remember, but he talked so much about revamping the culture of South Carolina basketball, and he truly has done that. From the managers that have been here since he's been here, from the players, from the different coaches that have been here since he's been here, we're a family. We're a family, and it's great to come back and the guys. You know, you walk in the locker room and the guys treat you like you're still a player in the locker room, which obviously it helps a little bit because Chris is still on the team, Mike is still on the team, Hassani is still on the team. So they bridge that gap because we all played together. But, you know, it feels good. I talked to Justin Mckie a good bit. Wes Myers and Frank Booker and myself became pretty close. They were on the team last year. Tamarcus Blanton is still in the locker room. John Reagan is still in the locker room. You know, I've developed a nice relationship with Trey Campbell and TJ Moss and some of those guys. So it's been nice, and I just like the culture that Coach has built.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have here in the studio. But again, Justin, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, South Carolina, Spurs Up.